Man has taken to scrapyards in search of Henry Ford's steel, hopping up engines and ripping body panels off for speed. Violating the streets in the hop-ups, these crazed juveniles are known to most as delinquents, but to a small few, they are hot rodders. Join us as we dive deep into this episode of Four Banger Archives.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Bangers Modified. My name is Retson. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be talking about Ed Winfield and some of the really cool banger products he created in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So let's get into it. So around 1915, Ed started working for Harry A. Miller in the carburetor department. Later in his career there, he moved to the machine shop and actually started working on the Miller engines. Despite the success of the race engine and a 10-cent pay raise, he actually left the company to pursue other matters. 4 years later, he acquired a grinding machine and somehow turned it into a cam grinder. That same year, he created his first carburetor. Going into the mid-1920s, the Winfield Carburetor Company was more successful than it's ever been. In 1928, Ed entered the World's Fastest Ford Challenge. His improvement was the 2-up, 2-down conversion for the Ford Model T engine. This crankshaft was special as it allowed for rods 1 and 2 to be on the upstroke while 3 and 4 were on the downstroke. By doing this, he was able to eliminate the Siamese port breathing problem and basically made the engine a 4-port. It was noted that the engine ran incredibly poor at idle, but at wide open throttle and high RPM, the engine beat out a lot of the big timers. In 1934, Ed created his first and last overhead conversion for the Ford Model B engine. This had used 4 special Winfield side draft carburetors, but what made them special was the fact that they weren't like the normal Winfield 4-bolt flange. It was actually a 3-bolt, and it's noted that only 2 sets of these were ever made. The Winfield Model S carburetor was ran by every winner of the Indy 500 from 1933 to 1946, with the exception of the Boyle Special in 1939 and 1940. Out of all the heads that Ed made, he was known for 2, the red head and the yellow head. The red head offered a 7-to-1 compression ratio, while the yellow offered a 6-to-1 compression ratio. In the early 30s, they accepted an 18mm spark plug, but in the later 30s, it was revised to a 14mm spark plug. One of the ways you can tell your Winfield head is original or not is if it's cast iron. Following World War II, Ed was approached by Bell Auto Parts, and they struck up a deal because they wanted to reproduce his heads. Ed agreed, but with one stipulation, and it was that they add super in front of the Winfield name. These were available in cast iron, but were pretty much produced in aluminum, sometime in the 1950s. When answered which material was better, he answered, "If you want to boil water, aluminum is best. If you want power, cast iron is best." Ed ground 2 types of camshafts for the Model A and Model B engines. The first one was the SU-1R. It offered 350 thousandths of lift at 266 degrees of rotation, and the SU-1A was the second. That offered 362 thousandths of lift at 280 degrees of rotation. There was tons of manifolds and carburetors made for various applications. Even some third-party stuff is actually pretty wild. One of my most favorite things is one of the new Winfields made by a buddy of mine, Kevin Ferris. We're going to have that one in a different video just to not drag this one out, but this about sums up this video. If you guys like what you see, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like, and share with your friends. I've got a couple of projects you guys are really gonna like, and I have a lot of fun doing this. I like jumping into the archives and really learning the history about these old engines. So I'll see you guys next time. Later.